if you hear that sound. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Real Life, Real Crime Daily for Friday, the 13th of January. I promise you that's not going to be our intro mainly, but I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agavino. No spooky story today.
No spooky story.
Jason Voorhees.
We might should have looked up, yeah.
We do. Well, we have a Freaky Friday story, I think, out of Wisconsin that we'll cover toward the end. But let's open up by revisiting a couple of cases that we've been covering over the last few episodes, starting with our favorite guy, Taco Vigilante, in Houston, Texas. And he will continue to be known as Taco Vigilante because they have not given out his name publicly. What we now know, though, is he is a 46-year-old gentleman who is now up against a grand jury that will decide whether any charges are brought in this case. To refresh your memory, he was in his favorite neighborhood, Taqueria, when a gentleman came in to rob the place and robbed all the patrons. And as soon as he walked by Taco Vigilante got up, got behind him, and shot the guy down, killed him good, and then gave everybody the money back and packed up and went out of the store and got in his truck, which...
Wait. You might have seen them, even though they haven't released his name, you might have seen him on a edition of Barrett Jackson's auto auction.
Oh, yeah.
That classic.
Look, Google is your friend. Everyone stop right now, go to Google and Google the Taquerita Vigilante's truck. And trust me.
What did you call it? A Taquerita?
Taqueria, whatever. Taquerita. That's the Cajun version. That's the Cajun version.
His truck, I think, ends the mystery of who Dumb and Dumber sold that puppy truck that they had too.
That thing might have a Hemi in it.
Mutt cuts.
It might be the fastest thing on four wheels.
Yes.
The best line of the day certainly is "Killed him good."
Killed him good. I like that. That's a Mikeism.
That was a thorough. That was killed him good and thoroughly. So we will see what comes out of a grand jury if they try and indict this guy. I think.
Yes.
Google the ride.
I don't think that's going to happen. Let's turn it to Idaho, where this morning there's a preliminary hearing that I believe has taken place, but there isn't much of anything to find out there on exactly what happened. Woody, those things are generally concealed?
No, it's not even going to be concealed. If you're in the courtroom, you could do it, listen to it as John Q. Public, but the judge has issued basically a restraining order on anybody releasing anything that goes on to I would like to think that he's thinking to, in the future, to not sway any potential jurors because it's going to be a death penalty case. But there is that gag order, if you will, on information.
I've got a question for Woody. I went on the state of Idaho's court site and was in about 2 clicks able to find the name, email, and phone number for Ann Taylor, who is the court-appointed defense counsel in this case. And I was surprised that was so easy to get, because I'm thinking in a case like this, somebody like that might have a bad experience with some people coming after her or making threats at least. Woody's that they have to do that by law? That's always done?
It's a matter of public record, but you got to remember that's why she gets paid the big bucks.
That's right.
As a public defender in Idaho,
yeah, right,
raking in the big bucks.
Right. Anybody can go in and even though there's a gag order on news media and stuff like that, the attorney of record is going to be the attorney of record, and even if they hadn't listed it on there, they could Google her name and find out what her office number is and email is.
Should we give her a call and let her know we're rooting against her? She's gotten a few of those calls.
She probably likes the attention. She's going to get future clients out of it.
And, it's also one bit of information that we haven't brought up in the Idaho killing is that has come out since our last episode on that is a woman who says she once went on a Tinder date with Kohberger and claims he was very pushy. And now she wonders if it could have been different. So, it doesn't surprise me at all as we dig back into his background that he would go on a Tinder date. Number one, not hating on Tinder, but I mean, come on, man.
It will not surprise.
What happened to picking a chick up in a bar?
Right. Yeah. And
Am I just
getting the number written on the
right?
napkin, right.
Yeah.
Instead of punching the cell phone. I was go on the record saying, I don't know if they can find it or not, but they're going to dig into his ass and his past deeply, and he's got more bodies on him than these four. I don't believe this is his first time to kill.
We shall see. Our next story is a story we unfortunately read about all too often. This case involves a pit bull attacking a 7-year-old girl. So a Louisiana man whose pit bull attacked and killed a 7-year-old girl has been charged with negligent homicide. In a statement, East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, Eric Lopez is the owner, allowed the dog to roam free in a Baton Rouge neighborhood.
That's the state law, y'all, in Louisiana. There is no leash law, but there is a law in the book that you cannot allow your dog to roam freely. By that, they mean you have to have immediate control over your dog by whatever means necessary.
Yeah, and it's one thing if your 4-pound toy poodle is roaming around versus a pit bull. So he allowed the dog to roam free in a Baton Rouge neighborhood before it attacked Sadie Davila, who was playing outside her relative's home last Friday evening. Davila's relative tried unsuccessfully to stop the attack by hitting the dog and hitting him with a walking cane, and she was later transported to a hospital. Unfortunately, Sadie died hours later. The medical staff told the police the child suffered numerous dog bites to her face and substantial damage to her skull. After the incident, deputies and East Baton Rouge animal control officers found and captured the dog. I assume he has met his maker at this point.
Yeah, and then they'll send LSU Veterinary School to test him for rabies. Not that it matters because the victim's obviously deceased, but the tragic case of all y'all, I've worked several of them. One of them was an elderly couple that raised a pit bull from the time it was puppy. They were out in the yard. It was getting dark. The husband tells the wife to go put him up in the pen for the night. And on the way, she's dragging him by the collar. She trips and falls, and the pit bull, for whatever reason, attacks her. Husband describes it as he could see meat flying off of her. He's an elderly man. He's trying to pull the dog off. Every time he'd get him off, he'd lose his strength, have to let the dog go again. He would attack her again. Ultimately ended up killing her. Had another one, a 7-year-old boy, that it was his parents' dog, and they turned on him for no reason and killed him.
This guy's 20 years old, this Eric Lopez. He was not even home when this happened. So he told investigators he wasn't home during the incident and that he regularly left the dog outside and unrestrained, according to police reports. He was booked in an email to local families. The Baton Rouge Parish School Superintendent, Cito Narcissi, wrote that Davila was blossoming in the dawn of her life and education with so much promise awaiting her. It's difficult to comprehend the enormous pain and remorse her family and friends are experiencing in the wake of this tragedy. How many more times? I mean, this is...
Wait, hold on, because I want to say something on this before you get into that. Number one, look, people who aren't pit bull owners don't understand pit bulls. Most, 99% of pit bulls are some of the most loving animals you'll ever find in your life. Now, that being said, they get the bad press a lot of times because of their look. Okay, they're intimidating when you look at them. But I guarantee you there's probably 1,000 of our listeners right now that own pit bulls. Yeah. And
including my best friend. Yeah.
It is no different. Now, it is no different than owning any other dog. You need to be responsible. This guy was totally irresponsible, and it resulted in the killing of a 7-year-old girl. I'm not focusing as much as it being it could have been a German Shepherd. It could have been a Doberman Pinscher. It could have been a Rottweiler. It could have been a Dachshund. It doesn't matter. First of all, you don't let any dog run free without having a leash or a fenced-in yard or something like that. But a pit bull is certainly a little less predictable than most breeds, as would be a German Shepherd or a Doberman or something like that. So we're not hating on pit bulls necessarily here, or pit bull owners.
I am.
Well, Mike is. Mike don't like the pit bulls, y'all.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of owners of pit bulls, and I've known owners that had them for 15 years and they never done nothing but leg, a face, and stuff like that. But I've also known German Shepherds to attack people. Yeah. I've also known Huskies to attack people. So it's just larger breeds are going to naturally do that.
And it's the dog's disposition. My best friend Mitch Waller has one named Esmes, and she will sit in my headquarters and watching football, and she'll sit with her head on my knee for 2 hours. Never asked me pet or anything. Absolute love, right? But you let another female dog come around, when she's there, my females are there, she will kill him. She won't mess with a male dog, but she will absolutely, you cannot control her. She attacks females, so we keep them separated, right? But she also, if there's a deer on TV, she tries to attack the TV.
Guys,
but not knocking pit bulls. I mean, it's just.
There's a grim reality, though. Yeah. Over 80% of these cases involve pit bulls, right? That specific breed. And oftentimes, it's a dog who for 7, 8, 9, 10 years has been the perfect family pet. They've never witnessed an instance of that kind of behavior, and something triggers the animal, and boom.
So the lady I told you about, the elderly lady, they raised the pit bull from a puppy, and one day it killed her. But you can't say, I mean, that's like saying Smith & Wesson's pistol is more dangerous than a Glock. Shit happens. It was horrible. It's tragedy, and it shouldn't have happened.
Right.
It should have taken more care and responsibility.
Yeah, no one's saying that this guy doesn't deserve everything he's getting for the stupidity of letting your dog, period, roam all over a neighborhood.
He feels horrible about it, but it's not going to bring that baby back to life.
Well, what will he get?
Negligent. I'm sure some type of negligent homicide.
And let me say this on that stat, that 80%, and that's probably a true stat. I haven't vetted it, but I've never known Mike to give me untrue stats. That being said, the stat in and of itself doesn't do a whole lot to change any sort of opinion I have, because that doesn't mean that 80% of pit bulls are the only dogs that attack. That means 80% of pit bulls are the only ones involved in or people die more from pit bull attacks than other dogs. Doesn't mean that other dogs don't attack. It's pit bulls just have the capability to do more damage than a Dachshund does. But I guarantee you, there's a lot of Dachshunds that'll bite you in a heartbeat if you try to pet them. So that stat, while true, probably doesn't reflect the fact that they're just more aggressive dogs. They just have the ability to do more damage, in my opinion.
Yeah, SMS is definitely strong.
But I'm not defending this at all. I thought, and I want to be clear on that.
So a mitigating stat might be looking at what dog breed has the highest attack rate, which does not take into account whether the person they've attacked has died or not. Mm-hmm. Would that be fair?
Sure.
Okay, so let's ask.
Possibly. I mean, again, you got to look at what's reported. If a Dachshund bites you, you're probably not even telling anybody. It's just a snap, right? It's just you wash off your little 2 bite marks and you go about your business.
Well, I guess the good news in the data is that only about 10% of the time does a pit bull attack result in death. Mm-hmm. Which I would have thought that was higher. But let's put it this way. Pit bulls were responsible for 3,400 attacks in this period, and the number 2 breed for attacks was a Rottweiler.
Beautiful dog, by the way.
At 500. So 7 times more likely to attack than the second most attacking breed.
Wow.
I think the data makes it pretty clear. I think you're taking a big risk owning one of those animals, and if you do, you need to be ultra responsible.
I agree 100% with that, but I would also dig into that stat a little deeper. I would be curious to know how many pit bulls are in the United States as a percentage of those attacks. So if you have 100,000 pit bulls and only 3,000 of those attack, you get a percentage.
We're doing the per capita thing. We're doing the per capita thing.
It would tell. I mean, because your stats going to go up more as a weighted attack. If you have, 1 million dogs out there, and then the other breed like Rottweilers, you might have half that breed.
I failed stats, but I think your point is a good one.
Statistics. We'll have favorite class.
I think the point is not only valid, but I'm pretty sure we're probably the only people in the history of the world that ever try to make that point.
Look, I'm outside the box.
I lost my 15-year-old Brussels Griffon this week. Who I can tell you. The stats on him would be 0 and 0 and about 25,000 licks in between there.
It's a horrible story.
Get yourself
God
a Brussels.
Stay
away from
God
those
bless that family.
Okay.
Let's move on to our lead story.
Love our pit bull owners.
Let's leave the pit bulls alone now,
and
Jim and I will continue to debate statistics on dog attacks here in subsequent episodes.
Hey, ladies. Are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement, it's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Let's move on to a story that's getting a ton of coverage, and it's probably the top trending story in the country right now, which is the disappearance. I guess we still must call it a disappearance. The disappearance of a Boston woman, Ana Walshe, and the erratic behavior, shall we say, of her husband, Brian Walshe, following her disappearance and maybe even a little bit before her disappearance. He has told people, Brian Walshe, 47, living in the suburbs of Boston, that he last saw his wife on January 1st when she was supposedly headed to Logan Airport to take a flight to Washington, D.C. She never arrived at her work location in D.C., and the investigation started at that point. Anything to interject there, guys?
First of all, I think it's important to paint a picture of her husband, Brian Walshe, who is obviously, and Woody, I'll turn to you and just ask you this question real quick. And someone goes disappearing, and you and his investigator get the call. Who's the first person you look at?
The husband or the spouse or significant other.
Yeah, and I would imagine your job is to rule them out.
Well,
or
you have to start
not.
with them because you have to get any information about the missing person from them, right?
Yeah.
And that's usually when I would use my spidey senses and bullshit meter and whatever. But you got to work it.
Yeah. So Brian Walshe was not what I would call a model citizen. In 2018, he was indicted on federal charges for selling fake Andy Warhol paintings on eBay.
Nice.
And so that this all goes to his character. A little while after that, he took some paintings from a friend of his to sell on eBay, basically sold them and never gave the guy the money. I doubt they're still friends. So I think the first thing you do is you kind of dig into someone's background and try to get a good judgment on their character and who they are. And
well, not only that, they would have dug into their marriage and their financial background and everything else. They have any financial problems, and have they taken out any life insurance policies recently? Everything is just all part of the investigation.
And what has come out in the last 24 hours is that they had numerous real estate holdings. They began liquidating those holdings. So the picture is starting to really develop that they were in some kind of financial trouble. Oh. It hasn't completely crystallized the extent of which that was the case, but if you're liquidating all of your real estate holdings, something's going on.
Probably got to pay that guy back for his paintings he never gave the money for.
Exactly, and there was a lot of stress also involved in that. In 2021, Brian Walshe pled guilty in a plea deal on that artwork theft. So he had some fraud issues there and plea bargained out of that where he didn't have to be incarcerated. But now you're putting stress on your marriage. You're dealing with some criminal charges. You're selling real estate holdings, which leads me to believe that you have some financial stress going on there as well.
Well, he has to pay for the artwork, so that money has to come from somewhere.
Restitution, lawyer probably.
That's right. So in December 31st, that's when kind of this story takes place. Brian Walshe, in his statement to police, told them he and his wife hosted a dinner for New Year's Eve. They had a friend over, and they all kind of hung out, watched the ball drop, as we all do, and he goes to bed shortly after the friend left with his wife. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and this is I want everybody to understand. This is Brian Walsh's statement of events, I guess you could say. They went to bed. His wife, all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, on December 31st, turns to her husband and says, "Oh, I got a work emergency."
Now January 1st.
Now January 1st. I've got a work emergency, and I need to fly to Washington for my job. tomorrow morning. Okay, so they're going to bed after watching the ball drop, and right before they go to sleep, she mentions this. I find that very hard to believe. Remember the time in here. It's New Year's Eve. It's nighttime. None of this is mentioned until, whatever time in the morning, at least midnight, that she turns to him and says, I got to go to Washington. I've got an emergency, and I got to fly out tomorrow morning, which is January 1st, one of the busiest probably travel days of the year.
Well, that would easily be refuted or confirmed by her work.
That's correct, and we get into that in just a minute. And
prisons are full of dummies.
Yeah. So she gets ready and kisses him bye. Tells him to go back to sleep when she wakes up the next morning, and leaves between 6 and 7 a.m. to supposedly go on this flight for her job. He leaves home about 3 p.m. and he goes to get groceries. Now, this is all in his statement because Woody, I would imagine you sit him down and you're asking, what did you do?
You want to lock them into the original statement, then you want to try to prove or disprove elements of that statement.
Yeah, so he's giving him this statement, and he says after he went grocery shopping at 3 p.m., he goes to his mom's house. He arrives there about 4, and that's about an hour drive from his home, but he leaves his cell phone. He doesn't have that with him, and he gets lost, making the trip longer than usual. So there's some unaccounted time there that the police were hounding him on, and they're like, well, where were you? Why did you not get there? It's about an hour away, but the timeline's not matching up here. And he said, well, I didn't bring my cell phone. That's key number one. Who doesn't bring their cell phone anywhere anymore? I didn't bring my cell phone, and I got lost on the way to Mama's house.
He must not go see Mama very much.
Apparently not. And so that's how he explained that away. He said he left his mom's home about 15 minutes after getting there. So it's an hour away. You get there, you spend 15 minutes. And he said then he had to go run errands for her, pick up some medicine and stuff like that from CVS and Whole Foods to get some food. And he got home about 8 p.m. that night. Now, that was January 1st. That was the day she supposedly went on her trip and the last time anybody ever saw her.
Good thing he worked in that quality visit to Mom's house. So.
He had to get some black eyed peas and cabbage.
Yeah. That's right. And, it's a key part to this story as we go along. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so January 2nd rolls around, and here's where it gets even more interesting. Ana Walshe's cell phone is pinged in the area of their home. Now, when police dug into that, come to find out, it also pinged on January 1st, but she's supposedly in Washington, right? So that was something that raised some eyebrows. Now, Brian Walsh that day goes to a Home Depot, and this is really key. He's got a surgical mask on and gloves, and we're not in the middle of COVID. Everybody keep that in mind. This is not, 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Well, they're pretty liberal up in Massachusetts. They may still be wearing masks up there.
But what about gloves? Come on. Well, it might have been cold. Okay, we'll give him that. So he gets $450, y'all, in cleaning supplies, mops, buckets, tarps, tape, $450 worth, and he pays for it with cash.
Yeah.
Who pays with cash anymore when they go to McDonald's, much less $450 of cleaning supplies? You know how many cleaning supplies it is? I don't, because I've never bought $450 worth.
I don't think I bought
but it's a lot
in my entire life.
Stocking up on tarps is important this time of year. Yeah, everybody should do that. Make sure if you don't have any tarps in your house, you stock up.
Yeah. So if that old radar you got in your brain right now ain't pointing upward, this is going to make you point upward. So January 4th, Ana Walshe's workplace. Remember the workplace she was supposed to be traveling for? Well, she worked for a real estate company. They called police and they said, Anna didn't show up for work today and we're a little bit concerned. Now, obviously, if your workplace calls the police, you're someone that doesn't miss work.
Right.
That's very out of character for her. So they call the police and the police go to the home to make what they call a well-being check. And Woody, is that a common thing that y'all would do is these well-being checks?
Welfare checks every day. Somebody, whether it's a work or a family member from out of state that hadn't heard from somebody in however many days, and they normally talk on those days. And yeah, that's a common thing.
Yeah, they take them very serious, right?
Yeah, I mean, you never know what you're going to get. 99% of them are bullshit, but every once in a while you get that 1% where, it's on.
Yeah. So they go make a well-being check, and they talk to Brian Walshe, and everything I just told you, he kind of compiled a timeline, and they sat down, and that's what he said as to his whereabouts. So January 4th comes and goes. January 5th.
I imagine one of the questions, whoever uniform patrol goes to make the welfare check, right? And they would have been like, oh, this is bullshit. Call the detectives. They tell the detectives come. You say, hey, why don't you come in and let's just, obviously your wife is missing. And how come was the last time you talked to her and blah, blah, blah. And then they built the case from there. But go ahead.
Absolutely. So, January 5th comes around, and the police, they're concerned. And so they go ahead and they announce that she's missing, and they announce that it was shortly after midnight on New Year's Day that anyone had seen her. And, of course, the last person to see her was Brian Walshe, her husband. And then January 6th, they decide they're going to launch a massive search. Now, that included K-9 officers, search and rescue teams, and they lived in an area that was wooded. So, it wasn't the easiest search in the world. They had to have several teams do that, and that's what they did. They searched for her. And in the meantime, this is really interesting. 6 investigators are tasked with basically watching surveillance video of everywhere that Brian Walshe said he was. And all they're doing here is, I'm sure like all of you probably have right now when we've read you this timeline, but everybody's like, this dude don't seem right. Something seems off here. It's not adding up. Well, they got the same suspicion. They watched the surveillance video, and guess what? They don't see him on any video on Whole Foods or CVS on January 1st, as he had told them. Lie number 1 busted. So what do you say something a lot, and that is, what doesn't ever change?
The truth.
The truth never changes. So he's already going to have to explain that one away, but that was enough. That was enough for them. They realized, boom, we got him dead to rights. He lied to us, and on January 8th, they arrest him and charge him with misleading a police investigation.
Right. Absolutely the correct thing to do. They gave him enough rope to hang himself. He's obviously no criminal mastermind. At some point, when you have enough that you believe it's him, you have to, in effect, arrest. And I've done it a lot of times, y'all, like Screwdriver Red. I arrested him for obstruction, we had no body or anything else, but they arrest him. One of the reasons you arrest him is you figure if you put those shiny bracelets on, they might be more apt to talk and or change facets of their story that they know they've screwed up on. The other thing is when you do that, you'll get people to come out of the woodwork and tell you information about this character.
Yeah, so they arrest him. He gets arraigned in court, and as is common in every case in the world, he pleads not guilty. You never plead guilty on an arraignment, right? And, so investigators, they start looking, and they're kind of in a pickle here because they don't have a body. They don't at this time have any smoking gun evidence, but they start questioning a lot of events that Walshe said take place because her car is still at the house, but they can't find any evidence of her leaving the house with a Uber or with a rideshare company of any sort. So they get a search warrant, they search the house, and they find blood and a bloody knife in the basement. Holy crap. Yeah. Why do you have a bloody knife and blood in your basement? I mean, I don't think we all need to be Woody Overtons to figure that one out, right? So the judge sets the bail at $500,000 cash, and the next hearing set for February 9th on that particular case.
Is that because the judge knows Walsh deals only in cash?
It could be. Yeah, he don't use debit cards. Yeah. He swore off credit.
Yeah, for sure. Whatever the prediction is, he killed her wherever he killed her, took her to the basement, and practiced home carving, if you will. Cut her up, dismembered her, used tarps, and they'll find her somewhere. If you watch Yellowstone, they'll find her at the train station.
And let me ask you this, Woody. Let me ask you this. This is
not making light of it. I feel for her, but fuck him.
So, even though all the evidence or all the timeline I just read to you, if it is not screaming this dude did it, I don't know what will. But all of that being said, how important is it from an investigator standpoint to have a body and an evidentiary standpoint?
That's a really great question. It goes back to the old joke about what was that lawyer in the wheelchair? Ironsides did the is doing his closing arguments or calling a witness. The body was missing of the spouse, right? And he said when he went to call his next witness, he called the victim's name, the spouse, the same, whatever's Mary Jane. And I'll call the next witness, Mary Jane Jackson. And everybody's like freaked out. And everybody looks back to the door for the door open. Everybody looked except for the accused. He looked straight ahead because he knew that bitch wasn't showing up.
Yeah.
Right. But they've gotten away with it. It used to be they wouldn't prosecute without a body. Now they will.
Yeah.
But they're going to find her. They're going to find whether the seasons are going to change and people are going to get back out in the woods or whatever. He went somewhere known to him, not far away, maybe somewhere in between his mother's house, wherever. Maybe he went the other direction. It doesn't matter. Somebody's going to find her. They're going to find her remains, and they're going to tie him in. What I should have said earlier is what I want to say before I forgot was them arresting him on the obstruction or whatever they call it. At some point, you have to do that to try to get more information out of him and confront him on everything that you have. But it also becomes a public safety concern. If you truly do believe he killed his wife and you leave him out on bond, then he kills somebody else. You're responsible.
Right. And last thing I'll say on this, but we pretty much covered, up to the present time. But you mentioned maybe somewhere in between his mom's house and his house, and it's strange you mentioned that because you're absolutely right. The police were looking for a connection. They think something was strange about when he went to Mama's house because he was only there 15 minutes. He claimed he ran these errands that he didn't run.
Did they ask Mom? Did he ever show up?
He was there for 15 minutes. But the problem was he told them he went to CVS and Whole Foods after, and he's not on any video. So where was he?
The reason I'm asking that, I'm wondering if it's childhood home, because the bad guys, when they get away with it or getting away with it, always, or if they're on the run, always 99.9% of the time return to an area that's safe to them that they know. And certainly if I'm going to dump a body and I grew up in that house and I knew, the canyon in the backyard, he's playing whatever. He dumped that body somewhere that's known to him.
Well,
he had time enough to think about it. If he had time enough to cut her up in the basement and wrap her in tarps, he had time enough to think, I used to go deer hunting here and I know there's a thicket,
Yeah. And they did search a dump site, I guess, where they dump trash and stuff around his mother's house. Yeah. And they found a hacksaw blade with some blood on it and some blood in the area. Now, no body, but
if they come
awfully
back
coincidental.
They come back and it's her, no such thing as coincidence. And if they come back and it's her DNA on it, I'm sure they'll prosecute him with the murder. With a certain amount of blood is only a certain amount of blood is in your body, and you got blood in the basement, you got blood in the woods, and both DNAs come back to be hers. He puts himself in the area, going to Mom's house for cornbread and cabbage and black eyed peas, whatever. Stays 15 minutes. they're gonna do his ass.
Yeah,
we'll
I think
be featuring him on a dumbass criminal episode of Bloody Angola.
100%. And I think that the fact that he lied about that particular time and that particular day, to me, if I were an investigator, I would say, well, there's the time and the day, because that's where he lied. Yeah. And so he's lying for a reason. And the reason is he was hiding a body, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, there are a couple other circumstantial things. We talked about them liquidating assets. So they had tenants in one of the condos that they owned, and 3 days before Anna went missing, she and Brian told their tenants that they were going to sell their rental property out from under them, because these guys were living. I bet
you it was only Brian that told them that. I bet you Anna didn't know.
Well, the renter, Mike Silva, told CBS Boston that it felt like a personal betrayal after he had been led to believe they'd eventually sell the apartments to him and his fiance. So when they rented them, were under the impression they were going to be able to buy them.
Not outside the frauds.
Okay, so
he had no integrity.
So they got into a heated argument about this, and they were considered close friends prior to that. So after cooling off, this guy Silva sent Brian a text wishing him a Happy New Year. He received a reply on January 2nd. It said, "Happy New Year. Sorry for the delay. I misplaced my phone and my son just found it." There was no mention of the fact that his wife was missing. So, right. So he left out.
Sorry, haven't been responding because my wife's missing.
Yeah.
So he left out that little piece, which seems like it would be pretty important. One other thing is that Anna tried calling friends and family on the night she vanished. So she tried to reach her mother, sister, and her maid of honor, who lives in Serbia, around midnight on New Year's Eve, and again at 1 a.m., according to her mom. Okay, so the family members were asleep at the time. So while Ms. Walsh's friend was at a New Year's Eve party, and one of the other ones was at a New Year's Eve party and didn't hear the phone. So that's a weird time to be reachable. I guess you could be
not really.
I mean, wishing Happy New Year, but
it could also be.
I think that's what that was about.
We got turned, and he put his hands on me. Hey, I'm calling you all to say I'm leaving him, and that's motive for murder.
Could be. My personal feeling is my wife calls her mom on New Year's Eve at midnight. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
it says Happy New Year. I mean, that happens, especially your sister or something. I mean, I could see her getting ready for bed and let me see what they did tonight. Make sure they're home safe. Whatever.
If they missed a phone call, she should have called them on January 1 and said Happy New Year's. But you know what? She wasn't breathing. She'd be dead.
Yeah.
So, sorry for the family. Sorry for the victims.
Yeah, very, very. And I pray that her body is found and she gets a proper burial and all of those sort of things, and the person responsible gets justice.
Yeah. It's interesting. But I think the only reason this hasn't gotten more national attention is because of Idaho murders and other things like that. But when they find her body, you better believe.
And it's trending pretty heavy right now on Google.
And we'll bring it up to y'all. We'll keep you updated.
Massachusetts doesn't have death penalty, do they?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
There's 27 states left that do, and I don't think they're one. But you know what? It doesn't matter.
I doubt it.
Get light.
See, they could have some really cool. They wouldn't need a needle or anything. You could get so many great white sharks out there in the water over there. You could just take that guy, put a few cuts in him, and just dip him in the water
cool
there out toward Nantucket, and just.
I think even cooler would be taking him back to his house, take him in the basin, and let a jury of his peers cut him up with a knife and put him in a tarp. Take him to Home Depot first.
That way, that tarp doesn't go to waste either, because he spent good cash on that.
I think the tarp would be cheaper than lethal injection or the appeals on the death penalty process.
I'd imagine, and a lot quicker.
Hey, we certainly have no direct knowledge that he did it, but fuck him if he did.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Guilty. Well, speaking of guilty, our next story is from someone who seems to be quite proud of her guilt.
My God, y'all, I've been doing this a long time. Wait until you hear this. I had no knowledge of this story ahead of time. I got something now.
And
you're about to be blessed.
You may have heard the story. It actually happened a little while ago, but it didn't get outside of the state of Wisconsin in that area. It didn't get a lot of coverage. And
can't imagine why.
Wait, shout out to my people in Wisconsin. My brother from another mother, Shane, is in somewhere in Mississippi right now, driving down to see our first Bloody Eagle alive. I go up there a couple times a year. Best people in the world. I call it the Louisiana of the North. They're known for beer and cheese and great people.
There are great people in Wisconsin. There also are. I don't know why. A lot of strange things. Green Bay area, especially, a lot of strange.
Cheese heads in Green Bay.
A lot of strange stuff. I wonder if that tracks for good Packer years, bad Packer years. And this obviously would be a bad Packer year, so that would maybe coincide with this. But this woman who changed her name to Taylor Shabusiness. Just right there, it just gets stupider from there.
Shabusiness.
Shabusiness.
Taylor's Shabusiness.
Taylor's Shabusiness.
Shabusiness to the main stage. Shabusiness to the main stage.
Yeah, I think Shabusiness was in that business. Is accused. She's 24 years old, accused of strangling her lover with a chain during sex. But after she strangled her lover with a chain during sex, she's accused of dismembering his body in the basement of his mother's home in Green Bay. Her lover, Shad Therian, a body part of his, let's say it's the body part immediately north of the neck, was found in a bucket by the stairs by his mother. That's
a big party hard for you.
So Shabusiness gave him the Shabusiness, and I guess the sex was not good. I don't know, but immediately after she strangles him and then dismembers him and takes his head and puts it in a bucket in a spot where she knew his mother would discover it. Any thoughts so far, guys?
Yeah, so she's 24 years old and in the prime of her life, and these kids today, they like the choking apparently, and she took it a little bit too far. And if you read what we read, she was primarily choking him just for like the sexual gratification that she got out of it, and that he supposedly got out of it. And then
they were drugged up. They were all
asphyxiation is what it's called. Choking right at point of orgasm to make the orgasm more intense.
You wonder why Woody Everton knows so much about
everything.
that.
FBI told me.
The FBI told me. So she was in the process of doing this and could feel this massive rush of energy because she could see he was about to die. So instead of letting off at that point, she kept choking him with this chain until he died. And as Mike just mentioned, they were high on many drugs.
But
and it's pretty clear she didn't intend on getting away with this.
Yeah, you don't leave the head in the bucket.
With this crime.
But you haven't touched on the best part yet to me. And there's no great part to y'all. Heart goes out to the victim's family as usual. But she confesses to police that after he is dead, after she killed him, she gave him oral sex and used sexual toys on him.
There you go.
I mean, she told she's no shame.
I have no words.
No shame in Shebanga's game or whatever her name is. No shame in her game. I killed him, decapitated him, left the head in the mop bucket for Mama to find, but I blew him and used toys on him. Now, there's only so many ways you can use the toys on a man. I'll just let your mind wander on that. After you're dead, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, she was.
I mean, that's been some good shit they were on.
They were both high on meth, and
meth is a sex drug.
We're also taking trazodone, which is a powerful sedative, in addition to the meth.
Pain pill. Yeah.
So, is trazodone pain pill?
Oh, I thought you said Tramadol.
Oh no, trazodone.
Okay, yeah, trazodone is down there, right?
So they were definitely not in their right state of mind, although something tells me even with no drugs at all, Shabusiness is a party girl.
Shabusiness had a husband, Warren.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Her husband, it doesn't seem like a guy named Warren should be marrying Shabusiness, but they also she had just become a mother, Mateo. That's some kind of crazy, this lady.
Really is. And when the police told her, hey, we found a bucket with a head in it, she stated, that's fucked up. That was that's pretty fucked up. That was her comment back to him. Well, we would agree with you, Shabusiness. That is pretty fucked up.
Business.
Yeah, she apparently told detectives that when she put the chain on Therian, which she compared to like a dog choke collar, she just went crazy and strangled him. She said she could feel his heart beating, so she kept pulling and choking him harder, claiming that he would not die, as he just kept struggling, I guess. She told how she sat on top of him, choking him while he lay face down on the bed, and how she watched as he coughed up blood and wanted for him to die. At some point, she admitted she knew that he was dead, as his face was purple and the blood was coming from his mouth. Still, she told detectives that she was already this far, so why bother stopping?
Yeah, cut off his head. Off with his head.
Off with his head. And then she actually, after the dismemberment, she grabbed the legs and body parts and loaded them in her vehicle. And the reason the head even got discovered by his mother was she forgot the head. So
that was after she performed oral sex.
Yes.
And, I don't really get that. And I was sitting here thinking about it. If rigor doesn't set in for a couple of hours, if she had to hold it in a certain position and rigor set in, maybe she could get something out of that. I don't get it.
Yeah. So when officers brought this up that, hey, you left the head, she basically said, damn, the head? I can't believe I left the head. Before telling the officers they were going to have fun trying to find all the other organs.
Oh, Lord.
Here's a. I wish you guys could see this. Here's a Facebook post of Shabusiness with her husband Warren, and she's put the saying "loyalty over love" underneath the photo. But Warren almost looks in this picture like he knows that this is going to end bad.
Yeah, I don't know. It was going to end bad with Shabusiness.
Warren, it did end bad. We're sorry, buddy.
Y'all, it's a true crime show. The murder is no joke, but I mean, if you can't laugh at Shabusiness and sex after you're dead and sex toys and whatever.
Blowjobs.
Whatever. Head in a bucket. Damn, I can't believe I left that. Again, should be on a Bloody Angle, a stupid criminal episode. But horrible story. It really is a tragedy. And evidently it got lost everywhere except for up in Wisconsin and wherever Mike found it.
Mike, that's why I'm wondering how Mike comes across that.
Your internet browser,
no tracking Mike. Mike goes to strange places.
You don't know that, Mike.
All right, our last story of the day. And if you're in this part of the country, you are probably familiar with the New Orleans mayor,
Tanya Cantrell.
LaTanya. LaTanya has her detractors. She also has her fans. She was elected into office, and New Orleans has a significant crime problem. When you, I don't know if that's a surprise to you out there, but New Orleans will make most lists on violent crime, murder, et cetera, that are out there. Certainly on a per capita basis, but oftentimes just on the raw stats. And so our mayor in New Orleans has drafted a new plan to fight crime, and she's made her first major move by creating a task force.
That's love. That is pure glitter for the public.
That's exactly right.
Are you saying that you've never seen task forces?
No, I've been on tons of task force, but they're only developed to appease the public. You know why she developed a new plan? Because our old fucking plan wasn't working.
That would be exactly right.
So
and
I'm going to create a task force.
There are a lot of people on this task force. I won't bother reading all of the people on this task force, but there's an old saying that a camel is a horse designed by a committee.
Yeah, right.
They're not going to get it.
You know why they publish all that? Because when this task force doesn't work, she's going to blame it on all of them. Task force members.
Now, and I will say, look, obviously, and I'm no defender of Mayor Cantrell, but I will say a task force is one thing, and that's acknowledgement that there's a problem. And you can't, of course, she couldn't run away from the problem. It's glaring, and I'll tell you, that's a task force that is basically labeled as a violent crime task force. They have a lot of issues that even aren't violent crime related. Believe it or not, they've had 493 break-ins into vehicles in New Orleans already this year.
And we're
493. I know about 4 friends that went to basketball games and things like that and had their windows shattered. Mm-hmm. We know some personally. So you can't even park in New Orleans at night without worrying about your car getting the windows busted out of and ransacked through. So that's also a problem. Even the nonviolent aspects of crime in New Orleans are ridiculous, but it's going to hurt tourism. It's going to hurt.
Well, that's why she did a task force thing, is to try to appease the conventions coming in and all that.
100%. If your community's deemed as unsafe and you're the size of New Orleans and that is what you rely on to function, it's a problem.
I was told in an interview I did on another podcast that there were 1,900 officers on NOPD just 5 years ago, and today there's less than 900. So they got half the number of cops on the street they had just a few years ago.
One of my oldest
Facing the double the amount of crime.
One of my oldest rider dies. I'm not going to say his name, but he's a captain over the 8th District. And he was there through Katrina and everything else, and he and I worked uniform back in the day. And, I mean, it is what it is. It's a shit show.
Yeah, I was showing an overlay of the murders at that point in 2022 in New Orleans, and they were concentrated in wards, 7th and 9th.
So for listeners that don't know, like when I worked in the prison system, it took me a little bit to pick up on it. Male or inmates would holler at another inmate and be like, "Hey, from the city," commonly slang for New Orleans. Yeah, what ward? So New Orleans is broken down into wards. And I don't know what this is broken down to everywhere else, but the city itself is divided into wards, and each ward has its own police precinct.
Well, and the overwhelming majority of these murders were concentrated in that area, and I asked this former officer why, and he said, well, we used to have 45 or so narcotics agents. Today we have 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those stats
That's crazy.
are drug dealers murdering drug dealers, and the police just staying at arm's length from it and kind of letting it happen.
Hey, I can remember getting calls and like this one place every Sunday night, people came from all out of states, but you knew when it closed, they were going to be fighting. And I would tell my guys when we get the call at a certain time it came in every Sunday night, I'd tell them, not on the radio, but I told them, I said, you just take your sweet time getting there. You know why? Because when you get there and there's 5 of you and there's 600 of them and they're fighting, if it takes you 45 minutes to get there,
They're tired at least.
That's right. They're tired, and the body's on the ground. If it send them to the hospital or the morgue, and the other ones are stupid enough to be around, then they are.
Yeah.
Well, we wish the mayor good luck with her task force and offer up this suggestion. How about we hire some more police?
Yeah, yeah. And I was supposed to be there. That's a story for another day. But I don't like her. Never liked her. And it is what it is. But you know what? I don't like Mayor Broom either. And I don't like the police chief of Baton Rouge. And he knows that. And he and I used to work together. But per capita, Baton Rouge is higher than New Orleans.
And I'll even go on record as saying this. Woody and Overton and I both like Mayor Landry from Denham Springs, right?
Yeah, he's a great guy. Great guy. But
My favorite mayor, Gerard.
all right. He's a great guy.
Yes, he is.
Well, time to wrap it up here, boys.
Thank you for listening to this Friday the 13th episode of Real Life, Real Crime Daily. I'm Jim Chapman.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all so much. Go like, subscribe, leave us a review. Our numbers are fantastic. Y'all evidently like what we're doing. We're going to keep bringing it to you 3 days a week.
I'm Jim Chapman,
I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agavino.
and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Business.